Hello, this is my mom, and she would like to tell you about the benefits of composting.
Thanks, Bryce. My name's Beth, and I have long been very excited about composting, which seems really funny, but I am excited about it because it is such a simple, free thing that you can do that's really a benefit to the environment. When I throw away something, if I were to throw away like an orange peel or a watermelon rind or something, sometimes I would feel really guilty about that because that quantity of that mass would be something that could go in the landfill and get contaminated, or it's something that you could put in the compost and it would actually be a benefit to your garden and to the earth in general. And healthy soil is actually, nutrients in the soil is actually depleting all over the world. So I think it's really important and so simple and free. Even if you live in an apartment, you could compost, but we're lucky to have a big yard, so it makes it even easier. So,
But you don't need that.
yeah, but anybody can do it. You can really compost in a bin in an apartment for free.
Yes. Okay, well, you've named a few, but can you tell us the main reasons why are you excited about composting?
Yeah, definitely. Really because it's such a benefit to the environment. Like everybody wins, and you don't have to spend any money. So if you're thinking like, I want to help the environment, but I'm not really sure what to do, this is something that you can do without spending any
Probably
money.
the easiest thing.
It's absolutely the easiest. Even if you think like, oh, I could do this or I could do that, but you feel limited, like, oh, I should ride a bike was something I know you've talked about a lot. But it is sometimes difficult to just say, well, I'm not going to get my groceries in the car. So this is something
Definitely.
that's so accessible.
That one is also very difficult if you live particularly in places like the U.S. where they don't have very good transportation. But let's start off with, what can you compost?
Sure. You can compost all different things. The easiest thing, or a lot of things that people think about, is like yard waste, like leaves, pine cones, pine needles. If you trim branches, all of that's all compostable. But some other things that you can compost are, and I don't know if you want to show some of this or not.
I'll show it after you say them.
Oh, okay. Any kind of kitchen waste that you might have, like if you have eggshells, which we don't have, but produce, heads of lettuce, you chop off the edge, whatever. We have some pineapple here, coffee grinds, and the coffee filter. You can compost paper so long as it isn't glossy.
Or bleached.
Or bleached. You can compost ash from the fireplace.
Yes.
You can compost human and pet hair, which sounds gross, but if you think about like every time you go get your hair cut, if you imagine, gosh, I wish these people would just compost all this human hair. It's probably bags and bags. It's probably disgusting.
That's very disgusting.
And dryer lint is another one. And also the contents of your vacuum cleaner are usually compostable. So is sawdust, a bunch of other things. And you do have to be a little bit mindful. Like if the sawdust was from pressure treated wood, then it's a no. So you do have to be a little bit mindful.
That can be one that can be tricky. We do have them right here. As you can see, there is the pineapple, the coffee grinds plus filter, non-bleached or waxed paper, ashes, not going to touch that. You did, that's hair.
Human hair, gross.
This is the dryer lint, and this is whatever was just in our vacuum. So, outside dirt stuff. So, we're going to go toward where our composting bin is, and we will show you how to do it. Okay, so we're down here, and there is another question that is probably that you would be interested in knowing about. That is, what can't you compost?
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to ruin your whole compost pile. So there are a few things that you should not compost. Namely, we did talk about paper a little bit. So something like wrapping paper that maybe has like glossy ink or glitter or weird things embedded in it. You definitely can't compost. A lot of times you get stuff from the mail and it's like really glossy postcards. Those, unfortunately, you cannot compost. But just like regular office paper, newspaper, brown bags, toilet paper tubes, that can all be composted if you tear it up. And it's actually quite a benefit to your compost bin. You cannot also compost cat litter because they put a lot of fragrances and other chemicals in the cat litter. And anything with oil or fat, like animal fats or dairy products, you can't compost any of that.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, like sometimes somebody doesn't eat a salad all the way through at our house, and if there was oily salad dressing on it, for example, even though it is produce, you still can't put it in the compost bin because of the oils.
Yeah.
So those you want to avoid.
It's kind of like, it'd be the same as like putting like a motor oil. Well, maybe not that, but is it that bad?
It's probably not that bad, but I still think of it in those terms, so that's a good way to consider
Thinking of in that way would help you to not do it, because it is bad.
And after you work so hard, you hate to ruin your good compost pile.
Yeah. And was there anything else that was not good for composting?
Yeah, pressure treated wood.
That.
Yeah, that one you want to avoid as well.
And those are the main things. Okay. And the last thing, correct? The last thing before the tips, is what can your dirt end up looking like? And right here, this is from that pile right there. This is the dirt from the pile, and this. Wow, I think we've been composting here probably since we moved with the ash at the beginning. So this is part of it is probably really new, and part of it is probably very old. But it is very great dirt, and it's helping those weeds over there grow, and it kind of like makes that weird barrel get hidden. So
yeah, that's a nice perk.
Yeah. So that is what it looks like. And you said that we had tips. What would those be?
Sure. So my first tip is when you're making anything in the kitchen, just keep a bowl as you're cooking and cutting. So right by the cutting board, just the the ends of the strawberries, whatever you've got left over. So you can just throw it in there. Your coffee with the filter. And then what I do is I have a really large container that has a lid on it. We keep this out back. The lid is important because in our area we have, in addition to bugs, we have raccoons. So we don't want raccoons to come and, have a midnight snack of watermelon rind or something. But I'll just take that little slop bucket from the kitchen, pour it in this cat litter container, and that way I'm not walking down to the compost bin, which is kind of far from our house, multiple times. So just make it accessible for yourself. We're all kind of lazy at some point, so just make it so it's feasible for you, whatever your routine is. Another good tip just to make good healthy compost is it does need to be stirred up. You can stir it with the shovel. Some people have really fancy elaborate bins that have like this rotary handle on it, so you can oxygenate and stir up your compost, and that helps it decompose quicker. So that's a good tip. And
that's probably something though that most people can't do, but it's still a helpful thing if you can do it, but it's not mandatory, correct?
Oh, definitely not. Like our compost pile is really just right on the ground, and I think that's the easiest. You can certainly make it as elaborate as you like.
It's probably also what most people have.
I know at a different house we had a compost bin, a series of compost bins actually that were made out of old pallets, and those were really fancy, but to be honest, they weren't as accessible to get to the dirt. So I actually just prefer on the ground. Easy peasy, free. The last tip would be if it doesn't rain in a while, you might need to water your compost just to make sure that everything's breaking down. Oh, and another good tip is like sticks and paper. I think I mentioned the paper before, but sticks from the yard, they do take a long time to break down, but that allows oxygen to get into your pile, so you can get that nice, good, healthy dirt.
There was one other thing, and that was if you have too much like kitchen waste in your compost, then it'll all go very quickly, and if you only have yard waste, it'll take a really long time to decompose. So you want to try to have like a 40-60 or 50-50 split of those items.
That is a really good tip. And you'll know if you have too much of one or the other, and so you can react and correct it. But that is a really solid point.
They don't have to be really necessarily that mixed in with each other. They just, like in the pile, they have to be of that ratio.
Yep.
And that was it. Is there a wrap-up?
No, I think that's it, but I would really just encourage you to compost. It keeps so much mass out of the landfills, and even though that banana peel might decompose in the landfill, it's going to get contaminated with all the other unfortunate things that we do throw away. So rather than using that banana peel to add to the poisons that we're putting into the earth, this really just keeps everybody keeps the earth healthier.
Yes, and we hope that you can schedule this into your own lives, because it might not be for everyone, but it is an easy thing to do, and it helps a lot. So, thank you for watching.
Thanks so much.
Have a good one. Bye.